What is going on, Pass Nation? It's your boy Patriots Global here, back with another video. And your first thoughts are probably something looks different here. Yeah, that's probably because usually there's pictures on top, and now your boy stepped up his game and has some actual quality going on. Now, I will say here, guys, is that this might not be the total setup. We're starting to get things going. We got our microphone, we got a new camera, we got that quality popping out here. What exactly the whole setup is going to be, it's going to vary. Next video, it could be totally different. 3 videos from now, it could be a green screen. We don't know what we're doing. Let me know in the comment section below on what you guys think of this setup. But like I said, things are definitely going to vary. Things are definitely going to change. But from the title, you can obviously tell we're going to be talking about AJ Green. AJ Green to the New England Patriots. Should it happen? Should the New England Patriots look at it? As we all know, the New England Patriots do need an elite wide receiver. Personally, if you know my channel, you've been following me here, which if you haven't, make sure you subscribe for all your New England Patriots news. You would know that I think the Patriots are one elite wide receiver away from this offense taking that big stride that it needs to. The addition of Cam Newton is huge, and I think that we've all clearly seen that. But with one key addition away, one elite receiver that can open up just the scheme and the playbook of this offense, and I think you're going to see just an entirely different team. Now, we are going to be talking a lot about trades. We're going to be talking a lot about rumors the next couple of weeks, because on November 2nd is the trade deadline for the 2020 NFL season, basically meaning that that is going to be the last day that all 32 NFL teams can make trades until the offseason. So for the next few months, things are gonna get a little dry after the trade deadline. Everything's gonna become either signings or releases and whatnot. So for the next couple of weeks, expect a lot of rumors, not just from the Patriots, but from all 32 NFL teams about potentially making trades, potentially being interested in trading for a certain player, and maybe even being interested in trading their own players. As we all know, the New England Patriots year in and year out are always interested in trading players, or not trading players, but interested in the trade deadline. They're interested in making some final trades. Whether they actually push the gas pedal on it or not, they seem to year in and year out be a team that is always active in the trade deadline. Now, AJ Green is a guy that makes a lot of sense for the New England Patriots here. He's a guy that in last year's trade deadline was a guy that they had on the radar before, of course, they ultimately went and they not signed but traded for wide receiver Mohamed Sanu from the Atlanta Falcons. In 2019, though, AJ Green essentially missed the entire season due to injury, so I think the Patriots kind of dodged a bullet there, and so did, of course, every other team by not making that trade for AJ Green. Now, he was also in contract year last year. The Cincinnati Bengals did decide to go ahead and place the franchise tag on him this offseason, so he is taking a big swarm of money, which we will get into later in this video. But basically, why the Cincinnati Bengals did decide to place that franchise tag on him was essentially because of Joe Burrow. Their first overall pick, their quarterback, their franchise quarterback said, look, you're one of the big offseason things that you need to do is make sure that AJ Green is staying with the team. I think that Joe Burrow expected AJ Green to be a bigger, aspect, a bigger weapon for him than he essentially was, but statistically, it didn't pan out that way. So far this season, AJ Green just has 119 total yards. Yeah, you heard that right. Just 119 total yards, which is just bizarre because since joining the league in 2011, being a 4th-round pick by the Cincinnati Bengals, which of course is another interesting aspect. The Bengals have never been a great team, but AJ Green has stuck with them through thick and thin. But through his 9-year career in the NFL, he's been to 7 Pro Bowls. 7. And if he continues to play the way he is this season, there is zero chance that he's going to be making a Pro Bowl. It definitely seems like Joe Burrow has tried to get AJ Green involved. He's targeted AJ Green 34 times this season, but Green has only hauled in 14 of those balls for just 14 receptions. In fact, this past week in their loss to the Baltimore Ravens, which is why this whole discussion about AJ Green to the New England Patriots essentially is even happening, is because on the sideline. I think he was talking to his offensive coordinator. If it wasn't the offensive coordinator, it was an assistant coach. I'm not exactly sure who he was talking to, but this is all speculation. When you're looking at his lips, people are trying to decrypt what he is saying, and it looks like at the end of what he was saying, he said, "Trade me." Now, did he say that? Did he not say that? Your guess is as good as mine. AJ Green is not going to just come out and say, "Yeah, I said trade me." So again, it's always just going to come down to speculation on if he said it or not. But look, if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, it makes a lot of sense for you to go ahead and try to trade AJ Green before the trade deadline, because of course he is in contract year at the end of this season. He will be a free agent yet again, because again, he is on that franchise tag. But the big thing here is that with that contract, any team that does decide to acquire AJ Green in a potential trade has to take on about $15 million for the wide receiver for the rest of the season. Now, the New England Patriots, I believe, are sitting at somewhere in the 20s with available cap. So there's no question that the New England Patriots, if they wanted to, would be able to bring on AJ Green, but it would take up a big sum of money. And that's $15 million for a guy who is essentially not even going to be playing a whole season. He's just going to be playing the rest of this season, and we're already heading into week 6 of the NFL. Do the Patriots really want to take on that $15 million? Now, also, because it is $15 million, because he's not really producing this season, I don't think that the New England Patriots would essentially have to give much up for AJ Green if they did want him. For me personally, I think that it would only be about a day 3 pick. There is no way that they are asking for a first round pick for AJ Green. It would shock me if they were asking for a day 2 pick. Put in his production alongside with the $15 million that they'd be freeing up and opposing teams would have to take on for the acquisition of AJ Green. And really, I think you're doing the Bengals more of a favor than you are yourself. Now guys, before we continue with this video, as we already know, the wait for football is finally over because football is finally back. Things might be getting switched up due to Corona, but nonetheless, we finally do have football back. But sadly, of course, we all know that we're not able to truly be at games for this season. Although you can't be at games, you can still get in with all the action with football with BetOnline. Now, BetOnline is going the extra mile to make sure that you get in on everything imaginable for this upcoming season, all the way from game spreads to totals, from team, player, and coaching props. BetOnline gives you more options to wager than any place online. Now, you can get in on their season opening bonuses today and start off wagering on win, division, and championship futures today. All you got to do is head to BetOnline today and take advantage of all of their great sign-up bonuses. Again, that is BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Now, when I'm looking at AJ Green, there's no doubt in my mind that the New England Patriots would love to add him. Let's remember that last year, right before the trade deadline, the New England Patriots were interested in trading for a guy like AJ Green. As we all know, the Patriots last year were trying to look at a multitude of different receivers, all the way from Mohamed Sanu, Emmanuel Sanders, AJ Green, before they decided to roll ahead with Mohamed Sanu. I think that when you look at what Cam Newton is good at doing, what he's been proven to be good at doing with his receivers in Carolina in the past, he's really been good at having connections and excelling with large receivers. And when I mean large, I mean tall. And if you look what the New England Patriots have right now, they don't really have that. I mean, who's going to be your tall receiver? Gunnar Olszewski, Julian Edelman, Damiere Byrd, all of those guys sitting in the 5-foot range. You really just have N'Keal Harry sitting in that 6-foot range being your tall receiver, especially when your tight ends for a second consecutive year pretty much are a non-factor. The 32-year-old veteran would bring an aspect to the New England Patriots sitting at 6'4" that I think would open up this playbook tremendously. He would not just bring the New England Patriots a deep threat or vertical threat, but he knows how to get open in an offensive scheme against a defense that I'm sure would definitely be able to take advantage of the Patriots' small and younger rookies. Currently, if you're an opposing team, you only have to put your tall corner or safety or any defensive back you have on N'Keal Harry. Then for the other part, you should have a corner that is able to match up with Gunnar Olszewski, Julian Edelman, and Damiere Byrd height-wise. Not saying talent, but height-wise. If you put in AJ Green to that mix, I think that becomes a whole different dynamic because now you have to have two large cornerbacks to compensate for the two large receivers that you have. With the height he has, AJ Green is also going to really help with those 50-50 balls. And if Cam Newton has two receivers that he can rely on with those 50-50 balls, we could see bigger plays down the field, bigger splash plays than the, short to intermediate routes than I think we've been seeing so far this season. So now essentially comes to the verdict of what do I think the New England Patriots should do. Now, do I think the New England Patriots need to add an offensive weapon, whether that's wide receiver, whether that's tight end? For sure, and I think that they should be fairly active in at least looking for a potential addition as we approach that trade deadline. Do I think AJ Green should be a must trade for the New England Patriots though? No, I don't. And why do I think that? That is because, one, we're unsure exactly what we're going to get. In 2019, again, he was out pretty much the entire season with injuries, and now this season in 2020, we haven't seen much of AJ Green. You also have to keep in mind that the New England Patriots will be taking on roughly $15 million for him, and also not getting him for a full season. You're essentially getting him for a little bit more than half, and I think that $15 million is a little bit too much to ask for, especially for a guy that you're essentially just going to get a rental for. I think that they could look at other options, and in me personally, I would like to see them make a trade maybe for a guy that has a contract more than just 1 year. A guy that has a contract for maybe 2+ years. Even a guy like Julio Jones is someone who has multiple years on his contract and isn't worth $15 million this upcoming season. So I think the New England Patriots could look another route where they could get a guy for one, less money, but two, a guy who is on a bigger contract that they could get for a multitude of time, rather than getting a guy who's going to be a free agent in a couple of months that they could just snag then. The Patriots have had a substantial amount of money in their cap space to spend for a few months now, and they still haven't. And that was even when big names were on the free agency market, like Jadeveon Clowney, Everson Griffin, you name them, they were still on the free agency market. And the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, they still didn't jump on that. To me, that says the New England Patriots are trying to save money for this upcoming offseason. The New England Patriots are expected to be ranked 3rd in the most available cap, and that is really beneficial for them because of the whole situation with cap money. How is that whole situation going to work out because of the whole COVID-19 and the whole pandemic going around? Again, a guy like AJ Green is going to be a free agent at the end of this season, and the New England Patriots could possibly get a bargain on him at the end of this at the end of this season rather. So in my own personal opinion, if you want AJ Green that bad, you have the money to be able to get him, sign him to a longer extension, and not have to spend that $15 million this season. Because of the whole pandemic and a lot of teams not having a whole, crap ton of money, guys are not going to be getting huge contracts like they have in past off seasons. I think that there's other wide receivers, again, other possible tight ends the New England Patriots could look to. One, that I think are going to be better in production, but two, aren't going to cost you as much money. Now, yes, it might cost you a little bit more in draft capital, but in my own personal opinion, I think it's better to go ahead and use some higher draft capital to get a receiver that's going to make an impact for you in the long run and possibly right now, rather than using all of your money that you could potentially be using for the offseason in, making bigger trades and in the free agency market, and to just throw all your eggs in one basket right now in a season that is already thrown up in the air. But that's my own personal opinion on AJ Green. Would I be mad if they acquired him? Of course not. I would love to see AJ Green on the Patriots, but from a business perspective, this is just one that I think I would pass on. But that's going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on this one? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to give this video a big thumbs up if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. But like always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.